Hello, I'm Steve. Welcome to my channel, which is Steve Suggests. And today I want to talk about the Big Bike Thailand license. So you may or may not be aware that there are changes that are happening, and they've actually been in the process for a little while now. But we're in a situation where the Thai government has wanted to make some changes about the rules regarding big bikes as to who can ride them and who cannot. I think with the history of accidents in the past, it's fair to say that some people have been riding these bikes that maybe shouldn't have been, and so perhaps it's time that something was done about it. I guess it also sort of fits in with the classes of license that are available in some of the countries that some of us who visit or move over to Thailand experience in our home countries. So currently and I'm going to be reading, unfortunately, because there's quite a bit of information here and various dates and so on, but to be able to get a Thai license at the moment on a motorbike, you only need to be 15 years old, and that'll allow you to ride after passing the license test. That allows you to ride a bike of 110 cc's. Once you're over 18, you can legally ride a motorbike with a cc displacement of more than 110 cc's. So the changes, there's been all sorts of things planned over the years, and I'll go back to when it started, but some of the things that were put out there were a minimum age of 21 years old, limited to 47 horsepower or 400 cc's. Who wants a 40 cc bike? You needed to undergo special training and a test organised by the Department of Land and Transport, which was going to be tougher, or expected to be far tougher than the current motorbike licence. Applicants must have a certain number of years experience riding a normal motorbike. So there's no explanation of what a normal motorbike is, and there's no definition for number of years. A medical certificate showing that you're fit to ride a big bike. I believe that you are supposed to provide a medical certificate now to get a let's call it a standard license or a current license, but I don't know whether it's going to be any more stringent, whether you need to go, I don't know, whether you've got to have a special checkup. I'm just telling you the information that I've been able to ascertain or find at the moment. So there's also going to be a ban on lane splitting. That's something that seems to be coming in as part of this legislation, and what I can't work out is whether that's for all bikes or whether it's only big bikes. I would guess that they want to ban the lane splitting for all bikes, that they wouldn't do it for big bikes only. Limited to 80 kilometres an hour in built up areas. Tourists attempting to rent big bikes will need to prove that they're qualified to do so. Doesn't say what that means. Guessing that that would mean that you need to have a license that you bring from your home country that reflects that you do have the ability to ride that class of motorbike in your own country, and that you're going to have the international driver's permit. Although that's not mentioned, the driver's permit is a guess on my part. So it's expected that this legislation will be enacted within 120 days of the announcement of the most recent announcement of these wanted changes, which was announced on the 18th of August this year, 2020. So the Thai Cabinet has approved the regulations, and it's just waiting for this to be formally passed. So some of these won't be enacted, I guess, and others might be added. As you know, things change quite quickly in Thailand. So, you know, is it necessary? So I said at the beginning there about the accident rate and things like that, and the there are a number of fatalities, unfortunately, and Thailand's position at the minute is level 2, or sorry, second worst in the world, behind Libya. So it's not an order of merit or anything like that. So it's something that the Thai government want to put right. So the first reference I can find regarding the want to make these changes goes back to April 2015, and I guess we're lucky that they didn't pass it in April 2015, though this one I'm going to mention next wouldn't affect me. But you have to have, at that stage they wanted you to be a minimum of 30 years old, which does seem rather old to get a big bike license. And as I said earlier, they're now looking at 21, it appears. Originally it was just bikes of 400 cc's that's where the big bike limit was set, and nothing about horsepower. So if you've got a smaller cc bike and through whatever means it's been modified or whatever to exceed 47 horsepower, that doesn't seem to be mentioned anymore. So if you were caught riding a big bike on an ordinary license in 2015, their idea was that you would be treated as if you didn't have a license at all. So then there's been a bit of a change, and the idea of some objection, if you like, as you'd expect when you got the age set at 30. People were suggesting that maybe 20, maybe 25 would be a more appropriate age for setting the minimum age limit for being able to get one of these licenses. And the timing of all this was for the beginning of the Phuket Bike Week, so unusual, I suppose, but anyway, that's just what happened and in that year. So I didn't find anything more until August 2018, when the Director General of the Department of Land Transport announced big bike licences would be introduced next year, meaning 2019. So we know that didn't happen. There wasn't going to be any retroactive effect. At that point they thought 18 years of age would be okay for someone to get a big bike licence, and they made the decision that there was not going to be a need to have a big bike and a small bike licence. So if you had a big bike licence, you'd automatically be granted a licence to drive a ride a small bike as well, which, you know, makes perfect sense really, doesn't it? So in 2019, July 2019, the Road Safety Thailand Policy Foundation said that big bike licensing should start from 250cc motorbikes. That seems a hell of a small to be considered to be a big bike, but it must be a desire that they just wanted a higher licensing requirement. But then anyone wanting a licence to ride a big bike would need to attend special training sessions and pass a test organised by the Department of Land Transport. So there's some consistency there with some other announcements. August 2019 was the next update, and at that point they said that big bike registrations were expected to exceed 200,000 by the end of the year. So I think we know that there's probably one or two bikes that don't get registered, but 200,000 by the end of the year, and I'm guessing that means that they've sort of like firmed up the definition that a big bike is something over 400 cc's. The death rate of big bikers has risen to 34% this year, according to the Road Accident Victims Protection Code Limited. So they said that during August 2019. And the Thailand Accident Research Centre, along with Yamaha and Honda, was studying 1,000 big bike accidents that took place in Thailand since 2017. So far they'd identified up to 600 cases where the top cause of the accident had been found to be a lack of skill in perceiving hazards, vehicle control, and ability to make split-second decisions in emergency situations. The Road Safety Group Thailand wants the legal age for a big bike to be raised to 21, and a 3-day course with an exam is what these people suggested. So in September 2019 we had another bit of an update. The Deputy Permanent Secretary for Transport said the new rules have been introduced for big bikes, including a ban on lane splitting and a lower speed limit in built up areas. So Uh, Same as before, as what I said before about lane splitting. It doesn't say whether this is going to be limited to big bikes or whether it's going to cover all bikes, and they're just using this opportunity to put that information out that lane splitting is going to become illegal. And lane splitting is basically the practice of when you approach a set of lights, an intersection or something like that, you just take your motorbike up the middle or around the outside so you can get to the front, because as we know, motorbikes will get off the line quicker than a lot of these cars do. Be interesting to see if they ban it for tuk-tuks. I haven't seen that mentioned as well. You think of all the tuk-tuks in Bangkok, and they tend to do whatever they can to get to the front of the intersection as well. So any rider wanting the new license will also need to take a big bike test, and that will simulate hazardous situations and test reactions. No further explanation on that. I presume it would be you rock up on your own big bike and you have to go through some manoeuvres to satisfy the tester before you can get your license. At September 2019, it was also anticipated that the new measures would be formulated by October 2019 and could be enforced by the end of the year. So we're in 2020 now, September 2020, and it didn't happen, as you know. So now we come forward to August 2020, and so these latest little announcements: before applying for a big bike license, it would be necessary to have several years of experience riding a normal motorbike. So that's been put out there, and as I said earlier, that is not defined as to how many years experience is necessary. Several is more than a couple being two. Several, I suppose, means three minimum, 3 to 5 years, something like that. The changes are apparently all about reducing the number of accidents caused by big bikes and promoting safety. The details of the training and test will be announced by the Director General of the Department of Land Transport. Confirmation is that this will apply to bikes 400 cc's and larger, and this was to be enacted within 120 days of the 18th of August 2020. And there is a requirement to provide a medical certificate to show that you are fit to drive larger motorbikes. So we probably all know someone that's been driving maybe just scooters, but maybe these bigger bikes as well on their car license, because that's just what they're accustomed to doing, and they've got away with it. They make these statements such as, "I've never been pulled over or stopped at a police checkpoint, so everything's okay. You only need to worry about the police in the tourist areas, and I'm living up in Isan or some island or something like that. You won't be stopped as long as you wear a helmet. If you are stopped, the fine will only be 500 baht. The policemen, if they do stop you, will move you on because they speak poor English and they don't want to sort of embarrass themselves or lose face." It's still possible to get fined riding with an international driving permit, so why bother? And if the rental people let you take the bike, you're good to go. The last sort of justification we've heard from a lot of these other people is that everybody does it. Well, I would say definitely those days are going to be over. And as regards riding without a proper license, if you are a tourist, I think, and you've taken travel insurance, that's good that you've taken travel insurance, but I think you need to be aware that if you have a motorbike accident and you don't have the correct licensing, your travel insurance is just going to say you're on your own. That's going to happen fairly quickly from my experience with insurance companies. They only pay out for what they absolutely have to, and so if you're going to put yourself in a position where they can say no pretty quickly, they're going to say no pretty quickly, which leaves you with the medical bill if you've been hospitalised, maybe an emergency trip back home, and all those sorts of costs. So those are things probably that you don't want to have to deal with. So it would be a good idea to do something about having the correct license, and then making sure that you ride with the correct licensing in Thailand. So there's no firm legislation or anything like this at the minute, but it's going to come. Whether it comes this year, look, as per this thing I'm reading from, that I've gathered from all various sources on the internet, whether it comes this year or not, it's going to come. So you may as well get yourself ready now by getting yourself properly licensed. I don't know this for true, and of course anything I've said, if you don't believe it's true, or you want to correct me, you can just put something in the comments. But I've heard, and this is hearsay, that in Phuket there's been less of an incidence of big bikes being rented to tourists, because the police, if they were pulling up somebody and they found that they didn't have a motorbike license, they were finding where the bike was from and going straight back to that motorbike renter and charging them 2,000 baht for renting it to someone that shouldn't have been riding the bike. So good news, bad news, take from it what you want. I'm not an expert, I'm just trying to present some information that I've found that I think it would be useful that other people found, and or not found, but other people were made aware of, so that they can do their own research. And if you want to drive without the correct licensing, or ride I should say, that's up to you. So you're just going to be and aware that you're putting yourself at risk, and just find out what the risks are. The rest of us who want to do the right thing, we're on notice of what we need to do so that we can be legal and enjoy even more our times in Thailand. So if you made it all the way to here, thank you for hanging on. Sorry about the stuttering and whatnot from time to time, and the need for reading, but this is the, if you've been looking at my channel at all, this is the first time that I've been on camera doing a video, and it's actually harder than I expected, and maybe easier for some of you other guys, I don't know. But my hat's off to everybody else that's been doing this, and hopefully if I just stick at this I'll get better. And if you want me to elaborate on anything, again, you can put something in the comments, and I'll see what I can find. And all the best everyone, and enjoy your time motorbiking, and enjoy your time in Thailand if you're lucky enough to be there, or when you do get there. Alright, thanks everybody, bye for now.